All right, what is up, party people? It is day 49 of me documenting building a business. And today I wanted to talk about Big Mo. Big Mo, if you have read the book The Compound Effect, which is one of my favorite books, I've never physically read it, but I've listened to it on audiobook like two times. And it is by far one of the best books that I think anyone can subject themselves to listening to or even reading. Um, but yeah, so I have been constantly outreaching, waking up at like 5 a.m. every single day. Today, the time is right now 5:53. I did wake up a little bit late, but it's still 6 a.m. And by the time I finish this video, it'll probably be 6, which will be when I get my work started. And because of that, because of that consistency, I've been able to see some momentum, some strides. And that's what, at the end of the day, that's what you want, that's what you're optimizing for. So, one of my favorite sayings is it's nothing and then it's everything all at once. And that's something that I heard Dan Coe say a lot, and he says that with with reference to success typically, which is like, okay, when you're being successful, and this I'll say it in another way in a second too, but like when you're being successful, people work endless days and nights at restaurants trying to make ends meet, right? Like actors and actresses. um, People post endless videos, days, weeks, months, years in a row, over and over again, trying to find one that'll actually stick before they become huge YouTubers, Mr. Beast. And then eventually, all at once, something blows up, something catches, and then there is results altogether. And that is what encompasses the it's nothing and then everything all at once. And the best way I've heard this be put is this thing called the stone cutter's philosophy. So, the cutter's philosophy, or the stone cutter's mindset, is that the stone cutter, they're there chiseling away at a rock, and chisel, chisel, chisel. It doesn't just take one hit to break a rock, so they're chiseling away every day, every day, and eventually someone comes behind them and watches them, and then that person sees them chisel maybe two, three times, and then the stonecutter eventually breaks the rock. But that person will then think that, oh, they got lucky. Oh, it was a lucky break because they only saw the two to three chisels that broke the rock, but they're not going to see the hundreds of chisels that came before that to weaken the rock in order to break it. And at the end of the day, like that is inevitable, right? When you hear the saying, it's nothing and then it's everything all at once, it's inevitable that people look at you and think that you just got lucky and think that you don't really know what you're doing because they only saw the end result of it. And so when I think back to that saying, it's nothing and everything all at once, which again, like I said, is my favorite saying. It's something that I think like when I'm when I'm working and I'm like, bro, there's nothing happening and it's boring and like there's just there's just nothing. I always think back to that saying because I know that eventually all of this will end up paying off. I don't think I ever truly realized when I think back to that saying, I don't think I ever truly realized how much that saying has to do with the compound effect. And like in life in general, you want to build as much compounding as possible. You want to give your opportunity, you want to give yourself the opportunity to compound as much as you can. As much as you can. And, you know, like, take for example investing. When you're investing, what do they tell you? They tell you start early. I mean, if you've heard anyone who advises you on investing. But when I was in school and I took a finance class, like a personal finance class, they told us start early. Make sure you start, when you get your first job. And you see all these like graphs and graphics and stuff, and it tells you how much you make if you start investing this amount at the age of 23 versus if you start investing this amount at the age of 40, for example. And that's because at 23 your money has the time and the opportunity to compound. And when you're living through it every day, when you're living through the daily actions, the compounding actions, it's boring. It's very like almost menial in a sense, because like I just calculate. So I'm doing this thing where I'm calculating how much I make every single month, and I know how much I make before taxes every month and before other deductions and stuff, but I don't know how much I make after. And I just went to my my bank app, and I saw the amount that I make after taxes. And man, like, not after taxes, after everything. So this is after taxes, after my 401k contributions, and after my um I contribute to like stock. So after all those contributions, this is like this amount that I saw is how much I make. And I'm like, damn, like I don't feel like I'm making any money. I feel like I'm kind of like poor right now. And the thing is, like, if I continue doing this, right? If I continue like contributing how much I'm contributing to my 401k and to the stock plan that I'm purchasing, then I will be very set up for the future. And so while it may not feel good now, and it may not feel good every week when the money comes out of my paycheck, or it may not even have felt good when when I set the money to come out of my paycheck, eventually at the end when it comes time for me to withdraw that money, then that's when it'll feel good. And that's when, the people who didn't take the time and didn't risk the discomfort to put the money in, they will start to wonder what if and feel regret and yada, 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 yada. So, kind of tying it back all together into the business, I think that like when you see something compound, right? When you start to get responses on your cold emails and you start to get, you know, views on your Loom and all that stuff, it can be exciting. But in order for that to happen in the first place, you have to be consistent before all that. You have to be consistently sending outreach. You have to be consistently, making new assets and stuff like that. You have to be consistent. And I have in the past been consistent for spurts at a time, and then I end that consistency, and then I go through droughts, and then, but I think it's now finally starting to click to me. And this probably would be another perfect time for me to reread The Compound Effect. But it's now finally starting to click to me just how important compounding actually is. And a lot of people, when they compound, they end up stopping the thing that made them compound, right? Like, how often do you see musicians get to a certain level of fame and then decide, I don't want to make music anymore. I want to do this other thing. Sometimes it works, right? Sometimes they can transfer that momentum, but other times it doesn't, right? How many times do you see YouTubers get to the top of their game and say, okay, I don't want to be a YouTuber anymore. I want to be an artist, right? There's a few of them that have successfully broken out of the space. But for the few that have, there's, 20, 30, 40, 50 times more that haven't, if not more. There's infinitely more than I can count that have not been able to make that jump because they haven't been able to transfer that momentum. But when you have momentum, and that just like it all ties back together. When it ties back to focus and consistency and all that stuff. When you have that momentum, then you keep going and you keep compounding even bigger and bigger. So if you think about someone like Mr. Beast, for example, he's had numerous opportunities to sell. He's had numerous opportunities to do other things that is not YouTube focused, but YouTube is has always been and will always be his main pie, at least based on what I know about him. So that's just, I don't know, it's been on my mind to talk about momentum a little bit because, I'm starting to get some positive responses. I'm starting to get some, you know, it's starting to look promising. And I think a lot of times in the past, if I'm being completely real with myself, um, this kind of ends up scaring me away. But I'm not going to allow myself to get scared away this time because I'm ready. I'm ready for God's blessings and I'm ready to use those blessings to bless other people. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about me. Maybe I can buy something nice for myself, one or two nice things, but there's only like one material thing that I like really want. And then apart from that, it's like I don't really have much that I would like to buy. I just want to help other people. Like, genuinely speaking, my biggest dream is to retire my mom. And then my other big dream is to lift as many people out of poverty as I can in Nigeria. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, that's enough yapping. I just decided I'd record this on the big screen with my desk setup because if I record it on my phone, it never gets published. And I have a few I have a few videos that I recorded on my phone that just have not gotten published. So yeah, I will see you when I see you. I don't know when next that is, but stay focused, stay consistent, allow compounding its time to work, and I will see you in the next video.